Hi, this is Bob Papa, voice of the New York Football Giants, and this is the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back to Giants fans to our pre-season interview series. Joining me for this episode, I've got Tim, fellow member of the UK Giants group. Thanks for joining me, buddy. How are you doing?
Yeah, not been too bad, Dan. Good to see you. Good to meet up.
And you?
Join the call.
Yes, we are a big Giants family here in the UK. I'm sure you're fully aware of that, being part of the fan group. So it's great to chat Giants football with as many people as possible. And we're thoroughly enjoying this, doing this pre-season interview series. So, we hope you enjoy it as well, the time on the show with me tonight. And it'll be good to hear a little bit about you. This series I thought it was a bit of fun just to chat with fans, content creators, and some, we've had some other special guests as well. We've got sort of 5-ish questions for you, and then we'll have a little quick fire round of predictions at the end. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Alrighty then. So tell us a little bit about your Giants fandom. How long have you been a fan? Why did you get into the sport? Why did you start following the Giants? And have you been to any games both here and in the US?
Yeah, thanks. I suppose in the 1980s, when I was at sixth form, football in the UK was sort of suffering a little bit. I think hadn't quite got to Premiership stage and the sort of elite levels, and there was this alternative, exciting new sport that sort of was introduced. I was at sixth form, and we also started playing. We didn't have any sort of advanced computer games in those days, so we started playing a board game called Pay Dirt, and nice. It was sort of a game, and I chose the Giants basically as my team. So I think it was the 1981 Giants team. So I had a really good defense, and I ended up, I think, winning the championship that we played. So I was a Giants fan sort of from there on, really, and been sort of with the woes of the Giants team over the time. I think I was fortunate within about 2 or 3 years they won the Super Bowl '86, so took great delight in that, and then obviously in 1990 as well. So it was a bit of a sort of you were sort of starved of any sort of information at that sort of stage. So as I said, I think I said on my Facebook post that listening to AFN, the Armed Forces Network radio on longwave, was a way of getting to listen to a whole game.
Yeah,
but it was sort of interrupted by the Russian xylophone player, sort of trying to sort of interrupt the Armed Forces Network. So
how dare you get off? Off.
You had to be patient basically, because the signal faded out, and obviously Nicky Horn and Channel 4 was on at the same time, so you got your sort of weekly hours dose of football.
Yeah, that was it. Obviously, like back in the sort of 80s and 90s, sort of when the game was sort of just starting to sort of bed itself in here. Obviously we weren't fortunate enough to have it on live on TV, so you would very much rely on sort of on radio commentary or this one weekly program on Channel 4, like you said. So it's it's not been an easy start to being a football fan in this country for a lot of people. Obviously I've been a fan for just coming up 20 years or so. I mean, I don't want to make you feel old, but 1986, the year we won this Super Bowl, there, I wasn't even born. It's one of those things. Like it's so cool to hear like so many fans that have been Giants fans for a long time, because us here in the UK, we think it's a relatively sort of new interest and new sport to enjoy in this country, and you realize there's thousands of people that have loved this game for many years, and it's one of those things that's really, especially like Giants fans as well. Keith, obviously one of the sort of the godfather of the UK Giants group, he's been a fan since the 80s too, and it's really cool to sort of see and hear and listen to him speak about the Giants teams of the 80s and 90s of when I was a kid. So it is really cool to hear that. Have you been quite an interesting? Have you been to any games?
Sorry, go on.
Have you been to any games? Have you been to any games here in London or in the US at all?
Yeah, so I've got a 3-0 record in terms of watching the Giants in London. So I saw the Miami game. I saw the
you and me both. You and me both.
saw the Rams game, and then I saw the Packers game. So I was jammed, but I went just by myself to the Packers game. So I sat between two Packers. There was a guy from America,
no way.
and there was a guy from England, and they were, the guy from England was really gutted when they lost, but I was delighted. So I was at the Bellinger end, the one where he scored the touchdown. So yeah, that was great result. I don't think we expected to win, but
no,
that
wasn't the end with the big wall of a stand, is it? It was the other end.
I think you were at the other end in the opposite corner to where I was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Bellinger ran it in from about the 10-yard line or something, and
nice.
Sort of I stood up and between these
everyone two, around you, like
it was a bit sort of a ghostly silence, but I mean,
At the end of that game, we were waving, as all the Packers fans were filing out. We were waving at them and saying goodbye and cheering. It was great. We loved it.
Great photograph of the guy just sitting there in silence, just he was just like very because he'd had a few beers as well, so he was very, very sad. So
no doubt. I mean, 3-0 in London. Let's hope we make it 4-0 internationally in November. You heading over to Munich?
At first, I thought it might be a bit too expensive, but looking at the tickets on the second-hand market, they were a lot cheaper than the Green Bay game that was in London. So I might sort of just venture over there, later on in the year. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we're all booked up to head over to Munich in November. I mean, we were lucky to get tickets on day of release, but resale market is the tickets aren't too expensive. We were quite surprised by that. So even if you don't get a game ticket, just to get a cheap flight there and stay in a hotel for a couple of nights, sort of, even if it's not sort of in the city centre itself, transport links in Munich are great. And so there's going to be plenty of Giants fans in Munich over that weekend. So it'd be great to have you out there and come and join the fun.
Yeah.
Have you been to a game in the States?
I've seen I think I saw the New England Buffalo Bills game in about 92. I think it was. That's the only game I've actually seen over there. But went sort of a tour around sort of the East Coast and just saw a game. Nice. Yeah, that's the only one. Yeah, so I hope to get over to MetLife at some point in my retirement. At some point. Yeah, it was on my bucket list for a while to get to MetLife. I'd been lucky enough to go to a game at the old Giant Stadium back in 2009. We played Washington on the opening day of the season in 2009, and I was lucky enough to go to that. And then obviously, we went over last year for the Patriots game. So for Giants games, I'm 5-0. I'm unbeaten. So we're in Munich in November, then we're in New York in December, the Carolina game as well. So let's hope we can not Carolina game, sorry, the Baltimore game in December. So let's hope we can win those two as well. And so I'm 7-0. That'd be cool. Keep a perfect record. Great.
Exactly. Before we get into the current season, that we're building up to, how would you sum up a year like last year?
Oh, frustrating. I think sort of obviously I think the season the season before came a season too soon, I suppose, and so I think it already had great high expectations, but. I mean, obviously injuries played a part, I think, and sort of just some of I think overall the problem is that our drafts have not produced any stars. That's the thing. We're just continually sort of drafting, high numbers, but we don't seem to sort of get those real sort of key players like other teams that sort of make an impact really.
Yeah, we have been quite unlucky in the draft. I mean, obviously, the standout over the last few years has been Thibodeau, and he's had a relatively good sort of sophomore year last year. Obviously, Evan Neal is still up in the air. There's been multiple picks you look back at and you just go, what? Eli Apple, Kadarius Toney, just to name two. And it's.
Eric Flowers, and the likes of sort of high draft picks that you think are going to be sort of great, and Eli Apple and all those sorts of those guys, and they just don't deliver, and even in the mid rounds we're not sort of getting that talent in the mid rounds either. So hopefully it's going to change. I think they got a much better sort of approach to drafting. I think obviously Gettleman drafted Saquon, and as much as I like Saquon, and he was always sort of a bit it was a bit of a disappointment, I suppose, overall. With the injuries and plus, his first season was brilliant, but after that it was a bit sort of bit lackluster, really.
Yeah, and it was almost like what could have been with Barkley. We saw during I think it was his rookie year or maybe his second year, but we really saw like him, like what he really could be in this league, and we never really saw that again.
No,
and it was it's frustrating as hell, and I think I'm not surprised he left. I was gutted, just like many Giants fans out there were gutted, but I think it was probably the right time for him to go, in all honesty. It is what it is. He's gone to Philadelphia, and he's going to be absolutely berated when he comes back to MetLife, no doubt, when the Eagles come back there, and rightly so. You don't leave a team and go to their absolute bitter rivals, and it's just one of those things you don't do. But hey ho, it is what it is, and let's hope. We've got a system in place now. We've got a front office in place with the likes of Joe Shane and Brandon Brown, and obviously Dave's as head coach, and they all seem to sort of have their head screwed on, and they're really sort of focusing on building this team for the future. So it's a hopeful future we've got coming up. Obviously, we spoke before about Hard Knocks, and you obviously haven't managed to watch Hard Knocks yet. But how do you feel like the off season and this preseason have gone so far?
I think they've focused in on the line. Going back to Barkley, I think the days are gone when there's the team is structured around a high draft pick running back and a quarterback, and then sort of the line is sort of secondary. Both lines have been focused in on, and I think that's key in this day and age. You've got to sort of build from the lines. You've got to spend the money on the lines because all the other teams do near enough. So I think that's really, really key. So great. Yeah, I think we've got some pieces in place. I mean, it's a big disappointment about Neil. Obviously, he's been injured, but I think whether or not he gets a second chance, I don't know. But the free agents they've got, they seem to be pretty decent. I've watched the preseason games, and there's a little bit of time, which was for a Giants fan in the last couple of years, that makes a bit of a change to pass, because in the last few years they've been sort of pretty rank, really, in terms of pass protection. How many times have we seen Saquon go into the back of a lineman and just get 1 yard? It's just been pretty desperate, and that makes a difference, doesn't it? So pretty optimistic about that. Yeah.
Nice. And obviously, looking at the players we picked up through the draft and in free agency as well, who do you think can make a really big impact for the Giants this season?
I think Illuminor on the right tackle, if he plays right tackle. Burns will obviously complement Thibodeau and make Thibodeau better, I think. So, I think there'll be less focus. Hopefully Thibodeau gets a few more holding calls, because I think he is very subject to holding, and he doesn't seem to get the call. But I think he'll be a terror, hopefully. So, and obviously you got Dexter as well. So, he's always going to be good. So, I think they'll make those are the key. The free agents on the line basically are the ones that will make the impact, I think.
Yeah, and I mean we've spoken at length on a podcast about the offensive line in the past, and to make so many moves on that line and bring in these guys that are all smart, they're all tough, they're all dependable, and they just to see him in that game against Houston and see that Daniel Jones had a pocket, and he didn't just have a pocket; he was protected. Yeah, it's almost it's unheard of over the last few years for him to have that much time. So I think the offensive line is key to our, not just to the offense, but to the team as a whole in getting somewhere this season and having a positive record this season. Last season the offense was poor, we low scoring, couldn't score for love nor money sometimes, and it was hopefully we see our fortunes turn around this year. But out of the draft picks, who out of those do you really like?
Well, you can see Neighbours is a class player, so he is a star. Talking about in drafting stars, I think he's clearly a star. You just saw that game on Sunday or Saturday, and just some of the catches he was making and the routes and everything. I think Theo Johnson make an impact in terms of tight end, and Tyrone Tracy, if he sort of gets his gets a few carries, then I think those are sort of maybe the three that will make an impact.
Yeah, I think that, Shane's obviously a big Penn State fan, and so he's all on Theo. But I think even the pickups of Drew Phillips and the guy's name escapes me in the second round, the safety.
Tyler Newbin, is it? Yeah.
Tyler Newbin, that's it.
Yeah.
I never remember his name. But yeah, Tyler Newbin and Drew Phillips, again, two young guys in that defensive secondary. And obviously with Banks being in his second year as well, pretty much leading that secondary now. It's a very, very young unit. So
secondary is the question mark, I suppose, on the team. It's
absolutely.
Coming into it was other areas, but I think secondary is obviously the question mark. And Daniel Jones, as much as you love him, sometimes you hate him. What sort of season is he going to have? I think we don't know. You just don't know. Is he Danny Dimes, or is he sort of the interception on the 7-yard line or whatever it was on Saturday? So you just don't know.
Very true. Very true. Do you think you should keep the beard?
Yeah, if he's going to win, definitely keep it. So I didn't have a beard until I was about 50 something. So definitely keep it.
He just seems like a different character with that beard, doesn't he? He sort of just looks a bit more rugged and a bit sort of.
Yeah, I think so.
And
hopefully keeps it
without. Yeah, for sure. And if we win while he's got the beard, he's got to keep it. Surely,
can't get rid of it.
He's got to keep it.
Yeah.
So looking ahead to this season, obviously, without giving a prediction, because that's going to come shortly, but what are your hopes and expectations for this season?
I just hope we beat Dallas once, at least once this year.
I'm
fed up with just Jerry Jones always just makes you have sort of if we can beat Dallas once, I think we'll beat the Commanders a couple of times. So I think that'll be one of them. Yeah. It's always
and obviously
tough, So
and to be successful in this league, you've got to win games in your division. And we're up against two big players in this league in Dallas and in the Philadelphia. Obviously, the first game we got against Dallas in week 4, that's going to be a big game off the back of 3 potentially winnable games in obviously the Vikings, Commanders, and then the Browns in week 3. So we could potentially go into that game on Sunday Night Football in week 4. Hopefully, you never know, touch to it 3-0, but
could do. Yeah. I mean,
that's a huge game for us, and that's at home against the Cowboys. And I just think Dak Prescott is overrated.
Yeah,
so overrated. Everyone raves about Dak Prescott, and I just want to put one over on him for once, and just have a game where Dallas tight ends don't go off against us.
Just cover the tight end. We've had enough of Jason Witten over the years, and I think there's talk of Dak Prescott joining the Giants under free agency at one stage, but I don't know. That's a rumor. But I think if we can get off to a good start, the first 2 games, I think that'll make a difference. How many times have we started, 0-2, and then it's 0-5, in a very quick succession. So exactly. We're not playing Dallas on we're not on the first game of the season either, which always makes a change. So that Monday night, that game last year was just appalling. I stayed up, I think, and it was just awful.
We a lot of us stayed up, and there was a few of us in Birmingham. We all met up to watch the game, and we ended up in a casino on Broad Street in Birmingham at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the game, because the bar we were in kicked us out because their license only went up to midnight. So we went into this casino to watch the game, settled down, and before we knew it, our season was unfolding in front of our eyes, and it was like, well, there we go. But last season was tough, but this season we are a bit more hopeful for, and it seems like there's a bit more stability on this roster. All right, then, going to wrap up with some quick fire predictions. So, talking about we've just been talking about the offense. Who's going to be the most valuable Giant on offense for you? Do you think?
I think Andrew Thomas probably is going to be MVP on offense, but in terms of skill play positions, Neighbours, I think.
Neighbours, I like that. I think he's going to be electric, isn't he? If Dan Jones can stay clean and in that pocket and launch the ball downfield to him, he's going to be electric. What about on defense then? Who's going to be your most valuable player on defense?
I think Dexter again. Despite the addition of Burns and Thibodeau, I think Dexter will still be, big force in the middle, and that'll help us out with those other two. But yeah, I think overall, I think he's the best player.
He's just something else, isn't he? He's just
a monster.
Yeah, and
I always remember that Indianapolis game where he just that Indy game a couple of years
Nelson.
ago, we just charged over the guard and just completely squished two of them. It was fantastic. Yeah, so yeah.
And that really sort of put him on the map, I think, and he realised actually how good he can be and how good he is.
Yeah.
Who's going to be your sort of surprise package of the season in terms of players sort of having a really good season when they're not expected
to? I think on offense, I think it will be somebody like Hyatt, maybe. I think if they use it correctly, he'll come. Some people have got a bit of a downer on him in terms of his route running and everything else, but I think if he can be used in the offense correctly, then so hopefully some big plays out of him this year. So
yeah, and it will help that now that Daves is a play caller, hopefully we'll see a bit more sort of dynamic play calling from him.
Yeah,
I like that. Jalen Hyatt, he's again, he's another one that's a bit underrated and sort of gone under the radar a little. So I think he could have a good year. So talking about jerseys, are you wearing your favourite one, or which one have you got as your favourite?
I've only got this one at the moment, but I did have a white away Phil Simms 11, and I had a Mark Bavaro, sort of heritage sort of style, red, white, and blue. But I've got too big for those, so I did buy them in the 80s, I think, or 90s. I can't remember now, but so I've just got this Thibodeau number 5. So yeah,
nice, love that. Are you planning on buying any more soon?
I sort of dabble now and again, but if there's I was always I'm glad I didn't buy a Saquon and Barkley jersey actually, but so it was whether it's it was a toss up between Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley or Thibodeau, and just thought, well, who's likely to be around longer than those out of those three? So yeah. I don't think they're that. The quality is a little bit sort of suspect, but on these ones, but yeah.
Yeah, they're not the best quality, and they're not the cheapest things either, are they? So
no, definitely not.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon to the Century Red? Just to get your opinion on that.
Sorry.
What do you reckon? What do you think of the Century Red jersey, the red, the new red and blue one?
I think they're only going to wear that on the first game. So it's a bit of a it's heritage, isn't it? So there's a history there somewhere along the lines, and I think they played in red to start with. So it'd be interesting to see how it looks. But I think it's a bit of a one-off really for the 100 years, isn't it? So
yeah, for sure. I quite like it. Honestly, I think it's quite nice. It looks quite clean. It looks quite nice. So looking forward to seeing him wearing it.
Yeah.
All right then. And last one. What's our record going to be in 2024?
I think it'll be 9-8. With hopefully a wild card.
But I'll take that. I mean, at the end of the day, 9-8, it's above 500.
Yeah,
I'd be more than happy with that.
Absolutely, happy.
I think a lot of Giants fans would be as well.
Yeah, better than 6-11. So yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to be picking number 6 again next year, do we?
No, definitely not. No.
Not unless we have to. Alrighty, that's all the questions I've got. Thanks for joining me, Tim. I've very much enjoyed chatting to you this evening, and getting to meet you as well. And those that are watching and listening, we hope you enjoyed the episode too. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that other fun stuff as well to our podcast. Our social links are in the description below. Until next time, we are signing off. Thanks, Tim. We really appreciate it. Let's go, Giants.
Go Big Blue.